It was a wedding that looked like a scene from a dream. The bride and groom stood side by side, smiling for the cameras, their faces glowing under the soft golden light. Families gathered around them, showering blessings and taking endless photographs. Laughter filled the air, music played in the background, and every moment seemed picture perfect. But sometimes, perfection is nothing more than a mask. And behind this mask, something far darker can be hiding, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. This story, like the infamous Sonam Raja Raghuvanshi case, would soon shake an entire community. In the Telugu-speaking states, it became a subject everyone whispered about. For some, it was a cautionary tale, a reminder that lessons from the past should not be ignored. But for one young man, those lessons came too late. Our story begins in the district of Jogulamba, Garhwal, Telangana, in a neighborhood called Rajvidi. There, in a quiet street known as Gata Vidi, stood a beautiful new house. Inside lived 32-year-old Gata Teshwar, a hard-working man with big dreams. He wasn't just any ordinary resident. He was a professional dancer and a private land surveyor. His job wasn't a government post, but it was legitimate. Measuring land, setting boundaries, and preventing disputes. It was work that often placed him in the middle of disagreements, but Tejeshwar was known for handling them with calm precision. Tejeshwar's family was small but close. His father, Gata Jairam Lalu, and his mother, Shakuntala, adored him. He had a twin brother, Tejvardhan, and a younger sister, Sushma. Recently, Tejeshwar had personally overseen the interior decoration of their new home, a reflection of his taste and personality. Life seemed steady, if not perfect. But soon life would take a turn toward tragedy. About 200 kilometers away, in Janaki Nagar, Kurnool district of Andhra Pradesh, lived another family. Sujata, a single mother, shared a modest home with her 25-year-old daughter, Aishwarya. Sujata worked as a sweeper in a non-banking financial company, struggling to make ends meet. Aishwarya had studied only up to the 10th grade and often stepped in to do her mother's cleaning work when Sujata was unwell. Their financial situation was fragile, but they had each other. The father was no longer alive, and nothing was known about a younger brother who had once been part of their lives. Fate, or perhaps something more sinister, would soon bring these two families together. Tejeshwar, at 32, was considered by his relatives to be late for marriage. His family began searching for a bride through acquaintances and distant relatives. Meanwhile, Aishwarya's maternal grandmother lived in Jamisheth village, not far from Tejeshwar's area. Through family connections, a marriage proposal was made. Meetings followed, smiles were exchanged, and before long, the families agreed. In the last month of 2024, the engagement was held. At first, the wedding date was set for February 2025, but financial issues caused it to be postponed. Eventually, a new date was chosen, May 18, 2025. The wedding was celebrated with grandeur at the Anjaneya Swami temple in Bichupalli. Aishwarya moved into her in-laws' home, sometimes visiting her mother's house, which was only 60 kilometers away. Everything seemed peaceful, but that calm was nothing more than the stillness before a storm. Then came the morning of June 17, 2025. Tejeshwar left for work on his motorcycle just as he did every day. He had a land survey scheduled and promised to return by evening. But that evening came and went, and Tejeshwar did not return. Calls to his phone went unanswered. It was switched off. Relatives, friends, even students who knew him were contacted, but no one had seen him. On June 18th, his twin brother filed a missing persons report at Garhwal Town Police Station. The investigation began, but there were no solid leads. Only one piece of information emerged. Tejeshwar's last mobile location was traced near Pinnapuram Lake. 4 days later, on June 21st, a foul smell led villagers in Sugli Mita in the Paniyam police station area of Nandyal district to a horrific discovery. In the bushes near a canal lay a half-decomposed body. The villagers alerted the police, who then called Tejeshwar's family to the Kurnool government hospital for identification. At first, Tejeshwar's father couldn't recognize the body, but then a bracelet on the wrist and a tattoo of his mother's name confirmed the unthinkable. It was Tejeshwar. The postmortem revealed deep wounds on the neck and body from a sharp weapon. This was no accident. This was murder. Now the question wasn't just who killed Tejeshwar, but why? And what role, if any, did his young wife Aishwarya have in all of this? Was this murder connected to his work as a land surveyor, or was it something much closer to home? The police began digging. In land disputes, surveyors often get caught between two angry parties. Tejeshwar had faced his share of heated arguments in the past. The police initially pursued this angle while also thoroughly inspecting the location where his body was found. They searched for any evidence, a piece of cloth, a glove, tire marks, anything. Then an important clue surfaced. CCTV footage from near Krishna Reddy's bungalow in Garhwal showed Tejeshwar standing in front of a car. Inside were two people. He got in, sitting in the back seat, and spoke to them as though they were familiar to him. There was no sign of fear. Later, footage from the Nanur toll plaza captured the same car, and Tejeshwar's phone location matched the route. As police questioned the family more deeply, more troubling details emerged. Just 5 days before the wedding, on May 13th, Aishwarya had suddenly disappeared without telling anyone. The families were frantic. She returned on May 16th with an explanation. She felt guilty that her poor mother had to work so hard for dowry money, so she had gone to a friend's house. Tejeshwar accepted her apology. The wedding went ahead as planned. But in the 29 days between May 18th and June 17th, cracks began to show. According to Tejeshwar's brother, Aishwarya rarely spoke to her in-laws. She spent most of her time glued to her phone, even on the day her husband went missing. And when police checked her call records, the truth made their blood run cold. In just 29 days of marriage, she had called the same number over 2,000 times. Who was she talking to? And why had she spoken to that person so much more than to her own husband? That question would lead investigators to a truth far darker than anyone had imagined. When the police saw the number Aishwarya had called more than 2,000 times in less than a month of marriage, they knew this was no ordinary case. The sheer volume of calls was staggering. Some lasted only seconds, others stretched for over an hour. By comparison, she had spoken to her husband just 150 times in that same period. The difference was too big to ignore. Aishwarya's in-laws admitted they had asked her about it several times. She would brush off their questions, saying she was talking to her mother or friends, claiming it was normal for a newlywed woman to stay in touch with loved ones. Even Tejeshwar had started to question her about it, and arguments had begun to creep into their short marriage. but he never could have imagined where those conversations would lead. Then came another disturbing find. While checking Tejeshwar's motorcycle, police discovered a GPS tracker hidden inside. His family swore they had never installed it, and Tejeshwar had never mentioned anything about it. So who had placed it there, and why? The only logical reason was that someone had been monitoring his every movement. Someone who wanted to know exactly where he went and when. The pieces were starting to fit together. This wasn't a random murder. It was planned, carefully, patiently. And every thread was beginning to lead back to Aishwarya. On June 23rd, 6 days after Tejeshwar's death, police arrested her. At first, she remained silent, claiming to know nothing about the murder. But silence has a way of cracking when faced with hard evidence. And when officers placed her call records in front of her, her expression shifted. The color drained from her face. The number she had been calling belonged to a man named Thirumal Rao. Thirumal wasn't just anyone. He was the branch manager of the same financial company where Aishwarya's mother worked. A B.Tech graduate in computer science, 35 years old, confident and well-connected. As soon as his name entered the picture, police sent a team to Kurnool. There they also arrested Sujata, Aishwarya's mother, and examined her call records. The same number appeared again and again. The truth was uglier than anyone expected. Both Aishwarya and her mother were involved with the same man. Thirumal had a relationship with Sujata, but at some point his attention turned toward her daughter. Whenever Sujata didn't go to work, Aishwarya would take her place. And it was during these times that her own relationship with Thirumal began. In the beginning, neither woman knew about the other's secret. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. And when they found out, the situation didn't end. It twisted. Instead of ending their connections with him, both continued their relationships. The line between love and obsession blurred until it was unrecognizable. Sujata, uncomfortable with her daughter becoming a romantic rival, decided the solution was to get Aishwarya married quickly. Society's pressure only added to her decision. Aishwarya resisted, not wanting to be tied to another man, and Thirumal also didn't want her to marry someone else. At one point, he even told his wife he wanted to marry Aishwarya. She flatly refused. Then came May 13th, just 5 days before the wedding. Aishwarya vanished. She went straight to Thirumal's house. He tried to convince his wife to accept an arrangement where he would love both women equally. His wife refused again. 3 days later, Aishwarya returned home, telling everyone she had left because she was worried about dowry money. The wedding took place on May 18th as planned. But instead of a honeymoon, the newlyweds faced tension from day one. Tejeshwar was annoyed by how much time Aishwarya spent on her phone. She in turn grew frustrated at his questions. Around this time, she and Thirumal began to talk about removing Tejeshwar from the picture altogether. The plan was bold and chilling. They would wait for the right moment, catch him while he was traveling to visit his mother's house, and kill him along the way. Then they would disappear. At first, they dreamed of escaping to the Andaman Islands. Later, the plan shifted to Ladakh, where they would hide for a few years before moving abroad. For the job, Thirumal needed help. He approached a man named Nagesh, who was desperate for a loan. But there was a condition. Nagesh had to do something for him in return. The something was murder. Nagesh agreed and recruited 2 others, Parashuram, an auto driver, and Raju, Thirumal's personal driver. Thirumal ordered a GPS tracker online and gave it to Aishwarya. She hid it inside her husband's bike so they could follow his every move. Nagesh was instructed to befriend Tejeshwar by pretending to have a land issue, something easy to arrange given Tejeshwar's job. On June 17th, the GPS showed Tejeshwar's location. The 3 men rented a car and intercepted him. CCTV later showed him talking calmly with them before getting into the vehicle. He thought they were just acquaintances. But once they reached an isolated spot near Veerapuram, the mood changed. The car stopped. Parashuram attacked first with a sharp weapon, followed by Raju and Nagesh. The murder was brutal, swift, and planned to the last detail. Then came a chilling moment. They made a video call to Thirumal. Smiling, they told him the job was done. He, in turn, relayed the good news to Aishwarya. But they weren't finished. Following Thirumal's instructions, they avoided highways to escape CCTV cameras. On the way, they threw Tejeshwar's phone bag and blood-stained clothes into the Krishna River. Originally, the body was to be buried at an under-construction project site, but the area was too crowded. So they left it in the bushes near a canal, where villagers would later find it. Thirumal rewarded the killers with new clothes, 1 lakh rupees in cash, and a promise of more money by June 20th. The conspiracy was complete, or so they thought. But even the best-laid plans can collapse with a single mistake. And in this case, there would be more than one. The killers thought they had executed a perfect plan. But murder rarely stays buried. On June 24th, just a week after the crime, their web began to unravel. Police arrested Nagesh, Parashuram, and Raju at the Pular checkpost while they were trying to flee. Soon after, Thirumal was caught at Shamshabad airport attempting to escape, alone. From there, the arrests snowballed. A mechanic named Mohan, who had been keeping tabs on Tejeshwar's movements, was taken into custody. Even Thirumal's father, a retired head constable, was arrested for destroying evidence. Eventually, Aishwarya's mother, Sujata, was also caught. Police seized knives, 10 mobile phones, 1,20,000 rupees in cash, the GPS tracker from Tejeshwar's bike, and the car used in the crime. But as the investigation deepened, even darker shadows emerged from Aishwarya and Sujata's past. Whispers spread through their village. Years earlier, Sujata's husband, Aishwarya's father, had died in his sleep under mysterious circumstances. Months later, Aishwarya's younger brother also died in a strange accident. In both cases, only Sujata and Aishwarya were at home. Relatives alleged that Sujata's husband had been beaten to death and her son pushed to his death. Why? Because he opposed Aishwarya's growing closeness to Thirumal. The mother-daughter pair denied everything, but the pattern was hard to ignore, and the bodies in their past too many to explain away. Then came the most shocking admission of all. During interrogation, both Aishwarya and Thirumal confessed that they had drawn inspiration from another sensational case, the Sonam Raja Raghuvanshi murder. If she could do it, so can we, they had told each other. That case gave them courage, the kind that would eventually destroy them. Originally, after the murder, Aishwarya was supposed to run to Ladakh with Thirumal. Tickets were booked, cash was ready, but the plan fell apart. Tejeshwar's disappearance had already drawn suspicion in the village, and Aishwarya couldn't leave without making it obvious. While Thirumal waited, she and her mother were arrested. When he heard the news, he tried to run. But by then, the police net had already closed around him. On June 27th, police held a press conference revealing the tangled, almost unbelievable truth. A man had been murdered because a mother and daughter were in love with the same man, and neither would let him go. The court has decided this case will be tried in a special fast-track courtroom, aiming for a verdict within 6 months to a year. But no matter what the legal outcome is, the damage is already done. A husband's life was stolen, a family was destroyed, and the sacred bond between mother and daughter was twisted into something unrecognizable. A mother is meant to guide her daughter, to protect her from harm. A daughter is meant to respect her mother, to trust her love. But here, love turned to obsession and obsession to blood. In chasing their desires, they crossed every boundary of morality, leaving behind nothing but disgrace, prison walls, and shattered lives. In the end, this is more than just a murder case. It is a warning about what happens when human desire blinds reason, when love turns into a weapon, and when trust is replaced by betrayal. But one question still lingers. If love can make people cross every line, how can we ever be sure where love ends and madness begins?